An international driving permit is an identity document that allows the holder to drive a private motor vehicle in any country that recognizes IDPs. To be valid, the IDP must be accompanied by a valid driving license. The IDP, which is slightly larger than a passport, is a multi-language translation of the driver's license from the issuing nation, complete with photograph and vital statistics. Oftentimes, short-term visitors do not need an IDP since their driving license suffices. Driver information, the 1968 Convention, the main regulations about driving licenses are in Annex 6 and Annex 7. The currently active version of those is in force in each contracting party since no later than March 29, 2011. Article 41 of the Convention describes requirements for driving licenses. Key of those are: every driver of a motor vehicle must hold a driving license. Driving licenses can be issued only after passing theoretical and practical exams, which are regulated by each country. Contracting parties shall recognize as valid for driving in their territories. Domestic driving license conforms to the provisions of Annex 6 to the Convention. International driving license conforms to the provisions of Annex 7 to the Convention, on condition that it is presented with the corresponding domestic driving license. Driving licenses issued by a contracting party shall be recognized in the territory of another contracting party until this territory becomes the place of normal residence of their holder. All of the above does not apply to learner driver licenses. The period of validity of an international license shall be either no more than 3 years after the date of issue or until the date of expiry of the domestic driving license, whichever is earlier. Contracting parties may refuse to recognize the validity of driving licenses for persons under 18 or, for categories C, D, C and DE, under 21. An international driving license shall only be issued by the contracting party in whose territory the holder has his normal residence and that issued the domestic driving license or that recognized the driving license issued by another contracting party. It shall not be valid for use in that territory. The 1968 Convention, the Convention on Road Traffic, has been ratified by 72 countries. Examples of countries that have not ratified the convention include Chile, China, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Ghana, the Holy See, Indonesia, Ireland, Iraq, Israel, Japan, Mexico, Portugal, South Korea, Spain, Thailand, and Venezuela. The convention had amendments on 3 September 1993 and 28 March 2006. There is a European agreement supplementing the Convention on Road Traffic, which was concluded in Geneva, on May 1, 1971. Note that before March 29, 2011 the article demanded contracting parties to recognize as valid for driving in their territories, any domestic driver's license drawn up in their national language or in one of their national languages, or, if not drawn up in such a language, accompanied by a certified translation. Any domestic driver's license conforming to the provisions of Annex 6 to the Convention. And, any international driver's document conforming to the provisions of Annex 7 to the Convention. Prior to March 29, 2011, Annex 6 and Annex 7 defined forms of driver's licenses that are different from those defined after that date. Driving licenses issued before March 29, 2011 that match older edition of the annexes are valid until their expiration dates. The 1949 Convention, the 1949 Geneva Convention on Road Traffic has been ratified by 95 states. The 1949 Convention's description of a driving permit and international driving permit are located in Annexes 9 and 10. Switzerland signed but did not ratify the convention. There is a European agreement supplementing the 1949 Convention on Road Traffic, in addition to the 1949 Protocol on Road Signs and Signals, concluded in Geneva on September 16, 1950. Permissible maximum weight of a vehicle means the weight of the vehicle and its maximum load when the vehicle is ready for road. Maximum load means the weight of the load declared permissible by the competent authority of the country of registration of the vehicle. Light trailers shall be those of permissible maximum weight not exceeding 750 kg. The 1926 Convention, the 1926 Convention on Motor Traffic is the more obscure IDP convention. It is only required in the following nations: Iraq and Somalia. International driving permits according to the 1926 Convention on Motor Traffic are also valid in the Principality of Liechtenstein and the United Mexican States, which also didn't ratify any of the above-mentioned later conventions. The United Mexican States also recognize the Inter-American Driving Permit according to the Convention on the Regulation of Inter-American Automotive Traffic 1943. This convention also contains regulations about driving licenses and an international driving license in its Articles 6 and 13 and its Annexa B, and thus gives an alternative opportunity for a valid driving permit based on a convention between several sovereign states. Article 13 paragraph 2 says €3 the international driving license issued in accordance with the International Convention of 1926 shall be deemed to meet the requirements of this article. For states that have ratified the 1926 Convention on Motor Traffic but did not ratify the 1A Convention on Road Traffic or the 19A Convention on Road Traffic, the number of states in which the International Driving Permit according to the 1926 Convention on Motor Traffic is valid, is higher. Both 1949 and 1926 conventions are authorized for issue to people over the age of 18 holding valid UK driving licenses. Validation. According to the 1949 Convention on Road Traffic, an IDP remains valid for 1 year from the date of issue. However, according to the Vienna Convention, an IDP remains valid for no more than 3 years from the date of issue, or until the expiration date of national driving permit, whichever is earlier. An IDP is not valid for driving in the country where it was issued. Countries recognizing IDP. Following is a map of countries that recognize the International Driving Permit. Fraudulent IDP. In the United States, the Department of State has authorized 2 private entities, the American Automobile Association and the National Automobile Club, as entities in the United States to issue IDPs. They advise against purchasing IDPs from unauthorized outlets, as those are all fraudulent. See also, European Driving License, Inter-American Driving Permit, References, Text of the 1949 Treaty, UN Conference on Road Traffic, a Euro Final Act, more information about international driving permit scams, notes. External links, IDP requirements by country, a Euro shows 1926 or 1949 IDP status and special requirements to use an IDP in each country, full text of Vienna 1968 Road Traffic Convention, list of contracting parties to the Convention on Road Traffic, a Euro Vienna, November 8, 1968, FTC vs. William Scott Dion, al. Legal action against PT Resource Center for selling bogus IDPs and related identification documents, countries where the International Driver's Document is currently accepted, full HTML version Convention on Road Traffic done at Geneva September 19, 1949, Washington Post story about a person without an IDP in Spain.